Hi ladies, welcome back to the Perimenopause YouTube channel. This is Dr. Alexandra Doig, and today we're going to be in my gym again and we're going to be doing a treadmill session. I'd like to talk to you about the difference between walking versus running, cycling, swimming, doing your high intensity aerobic sessions, even high intensity interval training. And we're going to really bring it back to scientific, explanations, as well as go really to our primitive human being. If you think of the hunter-gatherer human beings, if there wasn't a supply of food, people would have to go looking for it. They would have to go ceaselessly looking for the next meal. And the body actually is very clever when this happens, and it realizes that when you actually do intense exercise without a lot of breaks, it gives a signal back to the body to say, oh, start going into preserve mode, where you have to store every bit of energy that you consume as fat, because it's uncertain if and when it's going to get its next nourishment. If we bring that into the modern world body, where we're no longer hunting and gathering, but we are malnourished because we're not eating nutrients, and then we go into these exercise sessions that are repetitively intense, we're giving our brain the same messages, i.e., I don't know when I'm going to be able to stop, get adequate nutrition, relax, and just go cruising in life. And so your body, again, even if it's getting heaps of nutrition, it's going to go into starvation mode, and it is going to start preserving energy and storing it as fat. It's science, and I know that it sounds crazy. I'm telling you, don't do intense workouts frequently, because this is what it is telling your brain, and it's going to absolutely destroy your metabolism, okay? But like anything else, if that's where you are, because I've been there, I have definitely been there, because that's historically what dietetics and exercise physiology tells us. Go hard, get the sweat, get the heart beating really high if you want to lose weight. It is not the answer. In fact, it is damaging. It is contributing to your perimenopause, hypothalamic dysregulation, and it will just add on weight, increase the fat cells, etc. So then let's talk about walking. Okay, so if we go back to that primitive human being in the hunter-gatherer era, if you've got a plentiful supply of food, you're obviously not going to be having to go out each day in the hope that you will come across a food source. So if, in the hunter-gatherer stage, people were very nomadic, because if there wasn't food in a location, they would just have to keep walking until they came across an adequate food source. And if we're talking about having an adequate food source so that we can just go about leisurely through our daily activities, then obviously the body is just going to be in a less frantic mode, where it's like so stressed all the time, just wondering when the next food source is going to come, and as I said, going into a preservation mode or a starvation mode. So if we are talking about the input or the messages that going for a walk provides the brain, it's all completely restorative. And I hope that this gives you a lot of hope in your this whole journey of perimenopause or burnout, or whatever you've come to this channel for. Walking is going to be restorative to your hypothalamus. It's going to be restorative to your metabolism pathways, and it is not going to put pressure on your joints. It is not going to damage your pelvic floor. So it's fantastic. So I really, really strongly recommend to get out of the pool unless it's restorative. Go slow, don't do it too often. Get off the bike, stop running, and start walking. This is very controversial, but prove it to yourself by doing it, okay? Now, when I do my treadmill session, I've told you that whenever I do a session, I like to try and get the full body workout in, no matter what I'm doing, so that it's more gain for what I'm doing. So I'm going to show you how I do a treadmill session. And you can choose to use the same techniques, but this is my typical treadmill session, okay? So I will have 2 5-kilogram weights and a 10-kilogram weight. If you're starting out, go with lighter weights because the weights are used in an isometric way, i.e. we're doing holds with the weights. We're not doing actual pulses or things like that or reps. Now, my walking pace is typically 4 kilometres an hour. The highest I will go is 5 kilometres an hour, and that's on an incline so that I can encourage my feet to get better clearance for the particular exercise that I'm doing at that speed. The reason I do the incline and the 5 kilometres an hour is I'm really trying to extend that knee and dorsiflex the ankle so that I'm working on my front shin and thigh muscles to get strength to those muscles, strengthen my joints of the ankle and the knee, but also to cause slimming. This is a great slimming exercise that you can do. But typically I'm going at 4 kilometres an hour, and I do each kilometre I will do a rotation of techniques and weights. So let's get into it. We'll do a session together. As I said, what I'm going to go through is going to be what you do over the course of a kilometre. I tend to only do 3 kilometres in a session. I find that going up to 5 kilometres will give me fatigue in the following days. I can't afford to be fatigued because I've got a lot of responsibilities. But the other thing is, if I'm getting post-exercise fatigue, it is my body telling me that I've done the flight-fight response. And that is the best indication that I'm not exercising properly, okay? So let's get into it. I'll go, have a bit of a warm-up, just going at 2 kilometres an hour. And what you're doing is focus on your walking technique. Now, I mentioned that really extending that knee out and dorsiflexing that ankle is how I tend to do most of my session. I find this to be very slimming for the legs. If there's one thing I could say that's really helped in the slimming process of my legs is walking like this on the treadmill. I tend to go after my warm-up into the incline. Now, if you don't have a treadmill at home, you can do this at the gym. You're literally just getting 1 5 kilo and 1 10 kilo weight. And so you can just bring them to the treadmill with you. If you don't have a treadmill that is an incline, it's not the end of the world. Like, just focus on your technique. The incline just has an added benefit. So I'm going to go up to 4 kilometres an hour. Again, doing the same walking stride technique where I'm really throwing out and extending my knees and dorsiflexing my ankles. And I'm just going to get into a real stride of things at the 4 kilometres an hour. Once you get up to like the 100 metres, 200 metre mark, you can decide to go to 5 kilometres an hour for a little while. What this does is it just naturally encourages you to have a longer stride. Okay? And so so you can enjoy doing this for again another 100 to 200 kilometers. Remember that we're getting through all of these different techniques that I'm showing you in a kilometer. Now, once you've done that exercise for your lower legs, this is where we do our first isometric hold. Okay, so I've got the 5 kilo weight, and I'm just going to bring it up to the level of my eyes, and I'm going to hold it there. It might just be for 50 meters and then put it down, another 50, etc. But what this does, it expands your rib cage. It really expands that lower rib cage, which means that your upper abdominal muscles are having to compensate, and so they're working. But it also means that your endurance is going to increase because your lungs are able to expand so much more than when your lower rib cage is in its normal position. Over time, your lower rib cage will go into a state where it is naturally more expanded and your endurance will improve. So do this for 50 meters or until your arms get tired, and then lower it. The next one to do is an isometric hold above your head, holding the weight in the midline with your arms straight up and slightly further back than midline. And again, walking in this position. And you're going to do that again for 50 meters or for a set time limit, or till you get tired. I find this is one that I can hold for quite some time. Okay? And then come down. So that's the first few. The next one I'm going to do is again with the 5 kilo weight. Now we're just going to sort of sway from side to side, or rotate I should say. And I'm not forcefully rotating from side to side like that. I'm just holding the weight instead of in the midline as I walk. I'm just going to its natural rotation point. Okay? This is going to work these lateral upper abdominal muscles. And it also brings together the ligament between the two abdominal muscle sides for the diastasis recti, and it will tighten that. So this is one that, for instance, women who are post-delivery will do to slowly strengthen that ligament that has to stretch to allow for a growing uterus. So again, this is a really easy one. We're just going the natural rotation, edges of our gait. Now the final one to do within that kilometre is probably the most unusual, but we're just wanting to get a nice entire leg workout with this one. So we lean forward a bit, but keep the upper back straight, don't let it curve and roll, and then just bring the weight out a bit, lower down. And with this one, instead of walking on the tiptoe or on the heel of the foot, you're just going to be putting the sole down. The entire foot sole is going to sort of land on the treadmill base at the same time. Get into a comfortable sort of pace and see if you can do it for 20 to 30, 40 seconds to a minute, and then have a break. This actually works your adductor muscles really well. And they're quite a tricky one to work. They're the upper inner thigh muscles. This one's great for slimming your thighs. And you know, if you want to achieve you know, a bit of space between your legs, which is great because it will stop you getting chafe. It allows aeration of the area, which reduces the urinary tract infections, reduces the yeast infections. This is a really good exercise for that. So this will help you get that more of a gap between the legs. Okay? So, and you know, if you're watching something, once you get into a groove, you could do this for minutes, really. Okay, and that's really it. So, as I said, I do typically a 3-kilometer workout. There are some nights when I'm just too tired at the end of the day and I'll only do a 2K workout, even a 1K. But I go through and add those isometric exercises, which do a full body workout, increase my endurance because they're expanding my lower rib cage and therefore expanding my lung capacity. But they're also, this is a workout that is going to contribute to your leg slimming more than any other workout I will show you. So I hope you enjoy this one. I hope you've enjoyed learning about how exercise either sends messages of the fight and flight response and preserving fat, storing fat, versus exercise that is going to be restorative and get hormonal balance and get metabolic balance back. So this is a workout that I highly recommend that you, even if you only do it 1 day a week, it is going to be crucial to your weekly exercise workouts, okay? That's it for today. We'll get in touch soon. Bye.